Well, hello everybody, it's Adam from LUCIDPIXUL, and welcome to my last book review of 2020. Kind of, sort of book review. And incidentally, my last video of 2020 as well. So to all of you who have been joining me on this adventure over the past year with book reviews and art talks and all kinds of stuff, thank you. I appreciate you sharing along in this adventure with me. Now, I started doing these book reviews this year, all thanks to my girlfriend Genevieve, who bought me the book Art of Game of Thrones, which I was so excited about, I decided to share my opinion on my channel about. And it was so well received by you guys that I ended up making a series about it. And I ended up really investing myself into it, buying new books and new equipment and making this whole experience a lot more fun for everybody. So take that into account, because even though these are my favorite books of 2020, that doesn't necessarily mean that they were all published in 2020. A lot of these books, or some of these books, have been released years in the past. These are just the ones that I've reviewed this year, okay? Some of them have, however, been released this year. Secondly, note that these are weighted opinions, meaning that they're my personal opinion. They're my personal top 5. Not because they're generally the best books, just because for personal reasons, I enjoyed these the most. Okay, so just take this into account. I'm not saying that these are the best books to buy. They're just the best to me, and I'll tell you why they're my personal favorites for personal reasons. Okay, with that said, my first book, which I've been carefully balancing on my lap, is The Art of Horizon Zero Dawn. Now, the Horizon games series. I have a bias here because I consider the Horizon games, Horizon Zero Dawn, so far, of course, because it's the first and only one that's been released so far, as being my second favorite game of all time. Next to another game which I'm sure you already know about if you've been following me for any length of time, because I talk about it all the time. But we'll save that for later just in case. I don't want to spoil it for you. But I consider this one of my favorite games of all time. So that definitely helps to sway my opinion. Second reason is I love Loish's work, and Loish's artwork is all over this book. So there's definitely that bias as well. But all that aside, although my personal art style is very different from the art style in Horizon Zero Dawn, at least it's objectively different subjects than the stuff that I draw. In terms of its design philosophy and in terms of the bar that it sets for artistry, and a lot of this is very heavily traditional, although I don't hate on photo bashing or stuff like that to expedite the process of creating artwork, I have a great deal of respect of how much of this stuff is done by hand, traditionally drawn. So I have a lot of respect for the labor that went into this. But even more, one of the things that inspires me artistically is the diversity of the cultures that they have managed to capture and design, distinguish from one another, yet build into this cohesive world so believably, so beautifully, so seamlessly, and integrate all of that into in my opinion, the most immersive, responsive gameplay. I get serious adrenaline rushes playing this game. All wrapped up in my opinion, the greatest heroine of all time design, Aloy. And I'm saying it like that because in my original review, I hadn't played the game in about a year, and I called her Alloy, and everybody bit my hand off for that. So I apologize for that. It's Aloy, of course, because I was thinking metal, alloy. Anyways, I just wanted to apologize for that in my original review. Not that it's a big deal, but why I love this book and why I pull this book off my shelf so often is for two reasons. The design philosophy behind it, how comprehensive that design is in all of these different cultures across the spectrum, but the bar, the level of quality in this game. And the reason why that's important to me is because even if the design doesn't specifically match my particular art style, it reminds me that I can constantly push the quality of my own work. It reminds me that that bar is always so much higher than my head, and that I should always be reaching higher with my own stuff. So to that, I thank all of you who worked on this absolute masterpiece. Next, this next game, this next book based off of the game is not only, try not to reveal it, not only as I described in my original book review. And pay attention, because I'm going to have the tags to the original book reviews up here on the left. I already had one for Horizon Zero Dawn. It's not easy to balance this on my knees. Isn't only an incredible masterpiece of a game, artistically, it's also, in my opinion, an incredibly important game. For what it accomplishes, but furthermore, for the torch that this game and this artwork has kept alive, that is something that is very personal and very dear to my heart. And that is Cuphead, which isn't only one of my favorite examples of game art in my entire life that I've ever played, but is also one of the most incredible accomplishments. My background is in classical film animation. I have a degree in classical film animation. And one of the things that a lot of animators, especially my age, went through a period of being very afraid of, one of the things that I lived through in my career that scared me, was the fear that this incredibly important medium, this creative medium of classical film animation, could have died. It could have been, brushed aside as being something of the past because this new fancy schmancy technology called 3D came out. And for many years, there was a lot of fear that this form of expression could get lost. And for a little while, it definitely took the back burner. But what ended up happening, what a lot of classical animators started to realize, is that 3D, in all of its technological glory and all of its advancement, can and never will be as versatile a medium and as versatile a form of expression artistically as classical film animation, traditional hand-drawn animation. And the fact that the team managed to create a game that stays so faithful to this original old school rubber hose style of classical film animation, but did so by hand, did so traditionally, frame by frame by frame. One of those artists who I can't stress enough is probably one of the greatest moments in my life, being Tina Nawrocki, the Polish artist, who had a great deal of design, who played a very big role in the creation of this, who I've got a chance to meet at the Ottawa Game Conference when I held a conference there myself. Being able to rub shoulders with this creative genius, this artistic master, in my opinion, and be able to see and actually be able to hold the original frames that she had drawn when she was presenting it to people. This game isn't only beautiful, challenging as all hell, incredibly well designed, and an incredible artistic accomplishment, but it is also a reminder of the power of the human creative spirit. The fact that this is created using nothing but paper and a pencil is a monumental achievement, but definitely not a waste of time. So to all of you, oh yeah, and I might add, just to throw something onto the pile here, that this is also my most popular book review of the year, by a very long shot. So I'm not the only one who feels that way. Proof is in the numbers, kids. There you go. So the third, I don't know where I put anything. The third is, actually the next two book reviews are actually part of a series. And I have parts of the series here. And the first is oh my God, these are heavy, Lord of the Rings / The Hobbit books. And I have 3 of a series. There's actually more than 3 here. And these ones that I have here are actually broken up into 3 different categories. Art and design, which is the primary one. You can see right here and catch the light a little bit. Art and design, which is a lot of the traditional hand-drawn design artwork. Chronicles, which also has a lot of art and design as well. In fact, I would put these pretty much in the same category in terms of the quantity of design artwork that's done. And Creatures and Characters, which is a little bit more screenshots and talk about character development and stuff like that, but still fuel for my imagination as far as that goes. I don't only look at drawings to inspire me. I look at a lot of other stuff. Now, as I mentioned in my original book review, which you can check out right over here, between the release of Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit, there wasn't a single day that passed that I didn't watch the behind-the-scenes DVDs or the movie itself. They have remained consistently my tether to the artistic world, not only in terms of the artwork that was created, but also in terms of the human element put behind everything that was created. Every piece of armor, every costume design, every prosthetic design, the hair, the feet, the bigatures, the miniatures, the set design, the lighting, the atmosphere, the acting, the character development, the physical training that went behind it. It is something that has kept me immersed in this creative world ever since it was released. And when The Hobbit was released, over a decade later, I cannot express the excitement I felt knowing that I could expand on my already favorite series of art of all time, as far as that goes. Created by, or directed by, two of my personal favorite artists of all time, being John Howe and Alan Lee. I grew up off of the work of John Howe, Alan Lee, and Brian Froud. Those are my three favorites. They defined me as an artist growing up. My favorite book as a kid was Brian Froud's Book of Pressed Fairies, which, by the way, I also reviewed. You can check out right here. Although I got to be careful with the tags because I know I can only get 5 of them up here. So if I don't have the tag here, it'll be in the description below. This series almost killed Peter Jackson. It burned him out. I could not have picked, minus maybe Guillermo del Toro, who's supposed to work on The Hobbit. I could not imagine another director and artistic team to take on the endeavor of visualizing Tolkien's life story, a life's work, and did so faithfully that I'm quite positive that if Tolkien was there, he would have endorsed, he would have shown his appreciation for Peter Jackson, Weta Workshops, and all of the artists and creators that worked on these series as well. And it almost killed him. But in the words of Peter Jackson, which I will quote, just to remind him of how valuable his work is, "Pain is temporary, but film is forever." And rest assured that you haven't only created two incredible artistic masterpieces, but you have created treasures of our species. Works of art that are unparalleled. And the breadth of work and talent that goes into here is the reason why I open these books every single day. I have worn out the spines on these poor books. In fact, this is the second series I've purchased because the other ones, all the pages started coming up because I was opening them and closing them so much. So thank you for being the greatest source of inspiration, one of the greatest sources of inspiration in my entire artistic career. But there's another one, which I'm going to give you 5 seconds to yell it out in your room, and people are going to say, why the hell is Bridget yelling in her bedroom? Because if you know me at all, you know what the next series of art books are going to be about, because I am me, right? And that is, oh my God, the Dark Souls series. Well, not just the Dark Souls series, Miyazaki series, including Dark Souls, Dark Souls 2, Dark Souls 3, Bloodborne, Sekiro, Elden Ring. When are they going to release that damn game? Probably, if we're lucky, probably sometime in 2037 or something like that. I don't know. I don't care. Take as much time as you need to produce that game. If you know me at all, if you look at my walls, if you look at the artwork that I have produced over all these years, if you want to know what has defined the artist that I have become today, it's all thanks to Miyazaki and Miyazaki's work. As much as Lord of the Rings has created an artist, Miyazaki has also helped to fuel that artistry and to inspire that artistry and that style. Of all artistic creators, and I don't care if he's a game designer, his artistic philosophy, how he creates, the philosophy behind everything that he creates, has defined not only the artist that I am, but the teacher that I am as well. And I think I might have even mentioned that in my original book review as well. There's a philosophy behind everything that he does, and that includes Sekiro. That will most definitely include Elden Ring. And I might add, just a little nod to Blue Point, who have taken the reins as well. One of the most beautiful, respectable artistic masterpieces as well that all have, in my opinion, very faithfully respected Miyazaki's artistic philosophy. I only wish for them to continue working together in the future, although I have watched very little of it because I want it to be a fresh experience. Miyazaki's work. Miyazaki's books are also books that are not only on my desk, but they're open all the time. I use these books as artistic inspiration and creative inspiration as well, because it's very clear reading through these books that the artists put their egos aside. These books, these creations, including the games themselves, are not a testament to artists trying to flex and show off that they're the greatest artists of all time. They're artists that were creating a world, a mood, an ambiance, an energy, an emotion. And that's what the games are. The games are, before they're anything, before they're games at all, they are a world, they are a feeling that pulls you in. And that, to me, is true artistry. And when you play a Dark Souls game, how memorable it is. The characters, the creatures, the environments. It's the only game I've ever played in my entire life that I could close my eyes, I can start the game in my head, and I can play through the entire game from beginning to end in all of its glory. And I've memorized the entire experiences. I'm sure many of you have as well. And that is a testament to how impactful every single leaf on every single tree is. Every single piece of grass growing between the rocks. Every single candle melted down the side of a staircase. It has defined who I am. And to Miyazaki and to everybody at From Software, and of course to Bluepoint as well, you deserve my utmost respect for what you've created, and my thanks for helping to define me as an artist. Now this last one, I'm going to put my serious face on here for 2 seconds, because my last one, I saved this one for last, not only because it's one of my favorite books of the year, that was published this year, I might add too, but I also wanted to end it with a message, a very personal message to all of you out there listening. And that is Cyberpunk 2077. Now, the reason I wanted to share this one for last is because I have a very unique perspective to all of the other reviewers out there that have shared their thoughts and feelings about this game. Because the last time I did this book review, which you can check out right here, the game hadn't yet been released. And I was expressing my excitement and my joy for this game to be released. And over the last few weeks since the game was released, as of the recording of this, we are December 21st, 4 days before Christmas. The game was released and it was very buggy. So there's a lot of things that went buggy with the game and stuff like that. And the game has, to a certain degree, as people like to describe it, has kind of become a bit of a meme, a buggy meme. People are posting videos about all the bugs that the game has and blah, 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 and all that kind of stuff. And as much as I can empathize for people who might have purchased the console version and, might have a game that isn't working well and all that kind of stuff, I definitely empathize with that, for sure. I have another perspective on this. And it's the perspective of somebody who needs to counter and needs to offer you, in my opinion, a more substantial, more meaningful, and more realistic perspective on this game than a lot of these clickbaity game reviewers out there. I purchased this game for PC the minute it came out. Like the moment it was live, I owned it, okay? And I have played it. I haven't played it a lot because I've been busy, but I have played it. And I have encountered some very minor bugs. Very, very little. It's been very playable for me as far as that goes. And again, I'm not dismissing anybody who's dealt with bugs as well. That's not my point. But the moment this game came out and it was buggy and there were certain things that were a little bit weird, gunshots through walls or people standing on bicycles or, people sitting in weird ways and stuff like that. A lot of these reviewers tore the game to pieces. And they're continuing to do that to this day. And what a lot of people don't realize, these gamers, in my opinion, these entitled gamers, don't realize, from an artistic creator perspective, somebody who's worked on big games like this, somebody who's been an art director for games like this, somebody who's been a concept artist for games like this, somebody who's spent years of his life developing a game, who's also experienced games, who's created games that were released maybe a couple of weeks or months before they should have, and they were released with some bugs, and that was received with bad reviews. What you don't realize is that there isn't an eyelash, there isn't a tooth, there isn't a cigarette butt on the ground that wasn't modeled and designed by a human being. What you people are taking for granted, what you reviewers and people who are bashing the game and having fun at the expense of this game are taking for granted of is the fact that there isn't a single element in that game that wasn't created by a human being. This wasn't created by an algorithm. This is created by artists, 3D modelers, skinners, texture artists, atmosphere, people who do particle effects, lighting effects, clothing effects, character animation, audio, music, vehicle design, rendering. I can't even fathom the work that went into this. That when I turned that game on and I played it for the first time, I put on my headphones and I turned this game on and I experienced for the first time, I experienced the future of video games. Sorry, I had to say it. I know I'm getting heated, but I am so humbled by this beautiful work of art. I'm so humbled that a no-name company like CD Projekt Red sacrificed so much of themselves to make something like this. Now, that does not mean that I'm not privy, I'm not aware of bureaucracy. That doesn't mean I haven't worked for studios where I had a general manager telling me that I needed to get a team of 2D illustrators to produce 3D art, train them, and get them to produce a game without giving me the resources to hire new 3D people and saying, Adam, you're the boss, you figure it out. I know what bureaucrats are like. They're morons half of the time. Okay, so I know that there's bureaucracy you're dealing with, and I know that there's a lot of tension inside the studio at CD Projekt Red, but all of that bullshit aside, none of that takes away from how gorgeous this thing is. How memorable this thing is, and in my humble opinion, this is the future of video games. You have set a whole new bar, bugs and all. All right, so thank you for joining me on my last video of 2020. I love you all. Thank you to everybody who's produced these books and everybody who's produced any of the books, any of the artists who worked on any of the books that I've had the honor of reviewing, dozens of them this year. Thank you to all of you for all of your hard work and sacrificing your talent, and I'll see you in 2021. All right? Take care.